Hey folks, Papa Boris here reviewing the fourth game to finish from the First Champions Cup Leaders Tournament on Board Game Arena. We were up against Yoel, FirstPlayer, similarly rated to me. This ended up being a very tricky game. Let's go ahead and jump into it. So I do get a pretty good start here. We have the Royal Guard and the Claw, and normally I think I would actually take the Royal Guard, but here I decided to get a little bit frisky and grab the Claw. I don't know, I was just feeling like the Claw has been really significant lately, so I decided to just go for it. My opponent doesn't bat an eye. He, of course, is going to grab the Royal Guard, and then he also chooses the Rider, so he's going full aggression, full mobility, not taking any safe picks with the Jailer here. So on my turn, my opponent does make an interesting dare. He puts the Royal Guard here. He didn't have to, right? The Royal Guard's going to teleport. He could have put it anywhere, but he decides to put it here, kind of daring my Claw to just go in, and I decided to take it. So the nice thing is that since the Wanderer has shown up, I am going to get to grab it and have two characters really close to my opponent's leader very quickly. Though, of course, as we know, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. On my opponent's turn, he charges towards my leader, pulls his leader back, and then summons the Royal Guard. It's a bit of a meek Royal Guard, although this is still value. Even at the bare minimum, the Royal Guard does get to advance an extra step compared to most other characters. And then he grabs the Acrobat, so he's continuing to go full aggression. Now, on my turn, I decide to accept the challenge. I claw into the Acrobat. So my opponent does allow my Claw to get right next to his leader. The question is, of course, how am I going to get another character up there, or am I going to get invited and isolated? And now it's time to jump with the Wanderer. The obvious thing is to go here, but I figured, okay, if I go here, then he probably just, puts the Royal Guard here, Rider here, does a big jump with the Acrobat, and then just tucks the leader here and he's safe. So I decided to try a different approach. I jumped here, so the leader can't go here. And then my thinking was that maybe I could force his leader to go the other way. If the leader goes here, he's kind of behind the advancing line, but if he goes here, it's a little bit of a slant. So I thought maybe I'd have a better chance at getting him if he went this way. Not 100% sure I was correct about this, but I decided to run like hell away from these advancing characters and grab the Manipulator. I'm not sure this was the right call. Maybe the Jailer would have been better. The Jailer could have stopped the Rider from riding and or stopped the Royal Guard from teleporting backwards to provide support to the enemy leader. And the Manipulator is not that amazing, but I grab it. My thinking here is that after the Royal Guard advances, I can push him off, and a little bit of safety is in order since the Rider is going to be coming up to me. The thing is that this allows my opponent to just put the Rider here, put the Royal Guard here, dodge my Manipulator, and then just jump in with the Acrobat. And then the Acrobat and the Rider are both going to be really, really close to my leader. So that's a very dangerous pair of characters to have near your leader. And this Manipulator placement doesn't even stop that from being a problem. So I think I messed up with my drafting and or my placement in this case. So my opponent either misses or doesn't want to do this Acrobat jump. He could have jumped here with the Acrobat. Instead, he doesn't do any jumping, or instead he jumps a different way. He jumps like this. This doesn't require pulling the Royal Guard back. And then the Acrobat is still pretty close to my leader. But now the Acrobat is in line with my Manipulator, so I can pull him off a little bit. Maybe he was thinking, well, it doesn't matter if you pull him off, I can just do the Royal Guard and jump in anyways. So perhaps he didn't care about that. He moves his leader away from my Wanderer, and then decides to recruit the Jailer to stop the Claw from doing any tricky business, which is very logical. Now the Claw is forward, not providing any defense, and can't use his ability to do anything tricky with. So, like for example, obviously my opponent would have played this differently, but just as an example, the Wanderer could jump here and the Claw could pull him in for checkmate. So the Jailer was an absolutely essential option here, and the placement of it was critical in order for the leader to move like this. All right, so I do fly in as close as I can to the leader. I block the leader from getting back in the corner, so I'm at least forcing the leader to kind of step up if he wants to get away. But now it's like, how the hell am I not getting checkmated here, right? That's the tricky part. So I do pull the Acrobat this way. That means that the Royal Guard cannot provide a jump for the Acrobat. I run my leader in the opposite direction, and then I grab the Assassin. It doesn't really matter what I take as long as it's not the Nemesis. This is just a vanilla defensive piece here. So I'm just doing it to try to buy myself some time while hopefully the Wanderer and my Claw can somehow produce checkmate. It's unclear how this is going to work because the leader can just go up and then the Wanderer is very slow to get up to him. The leader can just mosey on over and he has all day. I actually didn't really see how the heck it was possible for me to win this game because I managed to expose my leader to 3 of my opponent's characters and have only 2 characters near his leader that are going to take forever to win with. I think I completely biffed the opening, and maybe my opponent was just a genius here, getting me to do these dares with the claw, to have the claw completely out of position, unable to use his extra ability to peel pieces off and help with the defense, or do anything. So all in all, just really nice strategic play from my opponent. So obviously he moves away from the checkmate, brings his pieces closer, and he does a pretty clever move here. He can now jump in with the acrobat. This is very smart. Now the acrobat is close. The rider can get close. I never took the jailer, so I can't stop the rider from riding or the acrobat from jumping. And all in all, the game just looks like it's just about to be over here. So, I decide, I see a way that there is a way to live. So I decide to go for it. I put my leader there, and then I have to bring back the Wanderer. The reason for that is right now there's a checkmate. The rider goes in here, and the acrobat jumps there. So I have to put the Wanderer there to stop that from happening. Note that there was even an alternative way to do it. He could move the leader here, summon the Royal Guard here, put the Royal Guard here, and then jump with the acrobat like this over the rider, over the guard, and then bring in the rider for checkmate. So the Wanderer had to go here for me to survive this game. I didn't know how I was gonna win, but maybe I thought there's a teeny tiny chance if I stall for time, if I hide out in the corner and the Royal Guard has to walk over slowly or something, although the Royal Guard can get summoned and teleport over, the rider can ride, and the acrobat can jump. I mean, I just didn't know how it was possible, but maybe there was some way I could possibly stall long enough for the manipulator now to walk over to the leader. And with the manipulator coming this way, and with all of his pieces over here going towards my leader, his leader has to go this way, and then the Wanderer could maybe be a threat somehow. I did not have a clear path to winning this game. I was just basically trying to survive as many turns as I could. All right, he steps in with his rider. He summons the Royal Guard and brings it over that way. And he could have moved the leader first. And if he had, the Royal Guard would have been one step closer to getting to my leader. That would have been significant, having the Royal Guard here instead of here. I'm not sure why he didn't do this, because if the leader was here... Oh, no, I see why he didn't do it. Okay, so he can't. He loses the game if he does that. All right, never mind. Yeah, he cannot do this. So I guess my manipulator actually is kind of important, because if he does go here to get the Royal Guard one step closer to my leader, I can manipulate his leader back into touching the claw after summoning the Wanderer here. So I summon the Wanderer, and then I manipulate the leader into checkmate. Although, he could have put the leader here and put the jailer here. But no, then I still have checkmate. Well, no, because I can move the claw, but I cannot put the Wanderer here because the Royal Guard is here. Right, if I could summon the Royal Guard could have been here, so I cannot summon the Wanderer here. Yeah, I think he missed it. I think maybe he was just afraid and thought, well, there's no way I'm losing this game. There's no point taking risks. But I do think if he had put his leader here and the jailer here, unless I'm missing something, I don't see any way for me to summon with the Wanderer and manipulate the leader into checkmate with the use of the claw. And so he could have had his Royal Guard one step closer. As it is, he decides to just run in the opposite direction from my Wanderer, and he brings the jailer over here anyways. Yeah, I don't know. I think my opponent messed it up. I didn't notice this when I was reviewing this game initially, but I think if my opponent's Royal Guard had been here, it would have taken him one fewer turn to achieve checkmate, and he could have done it safely, although it would have been a little bit hair-raising, of course, and that was worth it. Because now that the Royal Guard is here, I move in with my Wanderer, or my Manipulator, and then I just stop. I don't do anything else. I'm just like, hey, if you're not making any progress, I'm just going to slowly walk towards your leader. So I'm here. Imagine, right? The Royal Guard goes here. I go here. Royal Guard goes here. I checkmate. Whereas if the Royal Guard was here, I would lose the race. I go here. I pass the turn. Royal Guard goes here. I move one step, and then the Royal Guard suffocates me or checkmates me. So because he had his Royal Guard one space further from my leader, in this game, one space is everything, I'm able to take this weird line where I just move my Wanderer and stop. Now he decides to move the jailer, bring the leader back away from my Manipulator, and step in with the Royal Guard, as makes sense. And it's my turn. So now I pull the rider off of my leader. I put the assassin forward, and then I run. So my opponent could have put enough pressure on me to not let me go here and then do this stuff. But because the royal guard was a little bit further away, I was able to do this and start running the other way, which just buys me, a few extra turns. And I guess if the royal guard had been here, I could have done that anyway, but he maybe would have been able to get the royal guard there and do some repositioning to avoid me pulling off the rider like this. In any case, now that I've run with my leader and bought myself a little bit of extra time, I actually fly in with the wanderer. So now I'm threatening checkmate, and currently my opponent cannot kill me. I wasn't 100% sure that the checkmate was unavoidable, but my thinking was that if the royal guard had to go back for defense, which would, I think, save my opponent, right? If he just flies in here and puts the leader there, then I think he's fine, because I can touch him with my claw, but I cannot get my wanderer next to him. I was hoping if I could just dance around the acrobat and the rider with my assassin as defense. If the royal guard was on defense, then maybe I could somehow cheat my way into a totally undeserved win. So now it's Yoel's turn. What's he going to do? Well, he brings in the royal guard, so he's threatening checkmate. He cuts off my leader. And so now there's just a small matter of how not to get checkmated. Because at this point, I cannot stop checkmate. If I go up, the rider gets me. If I stay put, the royal guard gets me. So how does he stop checkmate here? It's a little bit tricky because he took away the royal guard, he moved the royal guard, and he moved the acrobat, and now he doesn't have the royal guard as an option for defense. And to be honest, I'm actually not sure how you stop checkmate in this situation, because the rider doesn't really help. If the leader could have moved one more square over, the rider, of course, could have blocked. It would have been totally safe. But as it is, I just don't see how he can help. I think he needed to bring the royal guard back for defense. As it is, what he tries to do is he puts the rider here, undoes it, puts the rider back, moves the jailer, and then hides the leader behind the jailer. But of course, we all know what's going to happen when you do this. If you have the claw next to the leader, then any of your friendly pieces in the same column lets you just pull them in now that the jailer is no longer touching the claw. So the claw ended up mattering after all, and that was the game. I think my opponent could have won it. Maybe, if my opponent had done the extra aggressive advance, I still could have pulled the rider off. I could have let the royal guard go even one more square, still pulled the rider off, still run off. But I believe that was his best chance of winning there, because it really felt like I was on the ropes, and I'm not sure I was actually set to win that game. Anyway, that was a really hair-raising one. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like and or subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.